When Grandpa died, the hospice nurses told us that his death would be painless. I mistakenly thought that meant it would be quick. They told us that his hearing would be the last to go, so we converted that hospital room into a concert venue with an all-star lineup that spanned the globe. Life has never made sense like it did until I began to see my 92-year-old grandfather as my child, like some umbilical cord stretched across generations and looped us together in a disheveled bow. I kept holding his hand and whispering in his ears, "It's okay to go. You don't have to be afraid." I couldn't tell if I was speaking to him or to me. In the last months of his life, I lived in parentheses. They're the things that I said and they're the things that I felt. When he told me that he wanted to die, I said okay, and then I went and cried in the other room. When the dementia came like a reverse sunset, I told him that things were going to get better. I've never seen a more compelling case for lying than him sleeping next to his books because he couldn't read them anymore. Sometimes truth is a prescription with too many side effects, so we lie to the people we love. We cradle them in our perjury, beam promises, like those devices that project stars on a ceiling, like, yes, these are real. This galaxy, it is yours. I will make the universe bend for you. Everything you want is yours. Shortly after I was born, I peed on my grandpa like a sprinkler. And he laughed and smiled with so much mirth because I was alive. And when he looked at me, he felt it too, being alive. When I was a kid, I wanted to become him desperately. I used to wear his corduroy blazers, study his gestures, mimic the pauses he made between sentences, the ink blots he left on the table, every pair of glasses, the way that he buttoned his shirt, the way that he burped, how crass, how magnificent, the way that he burped, the way that he clicked each key on the keyboard individually, as if pressing S could drop a bomb somewhere, the way that he was anxious, 7, 6, 5 hours before anyone in the house had a flight, the way that he giggled, even the way he swore felt cinematic, like my grandfather, he invented anger. Love means noticing everything about someone, developing an acute sensitivity to the animism of everything they touch, and that's precisely why it's so lethal. Because then you end up missing everything when they're gone. The day he died, I took a walk escorted by the bitter Brooklyn wind. My tears literally froze to my face, so I laughed, and then I sobbed in a yoga pose that felt oddly devotional, like I was discovering God there on the kitchen tiles, next to stray arm hair and pasta shells from earlier, and me, that messy playground of organs who tries so valiantly to protect me, but failed this time. I wept in the shower, the way that they do in the movies. I wasted so much water, my body, it pruned. These are the things we have to do to make the strange familiar when the familiar becomes so fucking strange. Death and bed, hospital and gown. These are words that require chaperones to keep them apart. And yet here we all were together in his hospital room with his body all swollen up like a grotesque melon. I was mad that no one had ever told me that this is what a peaceful death looks like, that no one has ever told me that dying is the longest verb, is a material that stretches and stretches until it snaps back into your face like a yo-yo trick gone wrong. I was angry at every single song and story and poem, including this one, that so flippantly used the word died, as if dying is just something that happens simply and immediately, not something that unfurls, that festers, that accidentally cuts itself while shaving, that bleeds, that howls, that peers at you with a kind of innocence that makes you forgive everything, that forgets his name, that forgets the year, that calls you on the phone, that tells you to take him back to India, that makes you lie. Sure thing tomorrow. It took him 6 days to die. No food, no water, just the morphine drip. He, a delicate eyelash held together with tubes. The hospice nurses told us that when it takes someone this long to go, it's because some part of them is unwilling to let go. They had a drug for that too, something to help relieve the existential suffering. My grandfather, a refugee, spoke many languages, among them hunger. For a long time, he converted his heart into a graveyard where he buried all the people he watched die with his own death. His eyes, if you looked deep enough in them, had tenants squatting there for years. These memories that haunted him and kept him up all night as he paced back and forth in the hallway, his feet, they were so used to moving. Trauma means the living die many deaths. Does that make sense? No, of course it doesn't. Like, none of this makes sense. Like, how one day he would tell me that he's ready to go, and the next he would hold my face in his palm, screaming, "Alok, I am dying. Do something. I'm dying." And I, the liar who loved him, said, "No, you're not." Told him to go back to eating his lunch, and he'd do just that.